Hello, this is a test. Ooh, it's loud. Hello, this is a test. Now you can hear me. Hello, this is a test. Can you hear me? I am talking loud. Hello, this is a test. Hello, this is a test. I am talking. Hello, this is a test. Can you hear me? I am talking loud. Can you hear me, Avery? This is a test. Hello. Hello. How is it going, Avery? Hello. This is a test. Can you hear me? I am talking. Can you hear me, Avery? 1, 2, 3. Hello. How is it going, Avery? I don't want to turn it louder for the room. I am talking. Hello. This is a test. Hello. Can you hear me? I don't want to turn it louder for the room. I am talking. Hello. This is a test. Can you hear me? I don't want to turn it louder for the room. He's not hearing me. Hello. This is a test. Can you hear me? I don't want to turn it louder for the room. He's not hearing me. Hello, this is a test. Can you hear me? I don't want to turn it louder for the room. He's not hearing me. Hello, this is a test. Can you hear me? I don't want to turn it louder for the room. Hello, 1, 2, 3. I'm talking. Hello, this is a test. Can you hear me? I don't want to turn it louder for the room. Hello, 1, 2, 3. I'm talking. Hello, this is a test. Looks like. I don't want to put it any louder than this. This is. Oh, I can come back. Got it. I don't want to put it any louder than this. This is. Oh, I can come back. Got it. I don't want to put it any louder than this. This is. Oh, I can come back. Got it. Hello, Avery. This is another test. Hello, Avery. This is another test. Avery, this is another test. Hello, Avery.
Namaste. Mino Gigishab. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sunday morning worship at First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. My name is Alec, and I'm delighted to be your worship associate this morning. Even though various restrictions have been lifted throughout the province and city concerning COVID, we do ask you to please wear your masks while you're in worship hall. My mask protects you, and your mask protects me. Whether you're taking part in this worship celebration from your home or wherever else you may be, whenever you may log on, you are welcome here. We acknowledge that our First U campus is located on traditional, unsurrendered, and unceded Algonquin Anishinaabe territory. In his best-selling novel, Indian Horse, Richard Wagamese says, quote, "When your innocence is stripped from you, when your people are denigrated, when the family you came from is denounced, and your tribal ways and rituals are pronounced backward, primitive, savage, you come to see yourself as less than human. That is hell on earth, that sense of unworthiness. That's what they, the colonists, inflicted on us," unquote. The work of reconciliation is our responsibility of our congregation and of all Canadians. Our goal is to educate ourselves and all who have ears to hear, to be of service to those who are at risk, and to advocate for justice. Do take care and take advantage of online opportunities at First U to stay in touch during this protracted pandemic. If you're new to First Unitarian of Ottawa and would like to learn more about us, please contact us through our email at welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. I'll just repeat that, welcome@firstunitarianottawa.ca. We now have some announcements from the board. And here's Phil.
The best part of this is taking off your mask for a minute. A note from the COVID task force for those booking meetings or classes here in the church building. Indoor meetings of small groups, until now mask mandatory, can now be conducted mask optional, so long as everyone attending agrees and they are comfortable with this. That's small groups. Also, if you are a leader, please note that the 2023 budget requests are due by July 15th to Michelle Jackson. You should have received an email recently about this. If not, please contact Michelle. While summer marks a change of pace, the board and the campus planning committee continue work on our affordable housing project, including legal consultations and a planned site visit to another project by our recommended partner, Ontario Aboriginal Housing Services. The congregation can expect a full update in the fall. You can reach the board president, Brent Nicole, via email at president@firstunitarianottawa.ca. Thank you.
I now invite Donna to come forward and give us the Environmental Action Group announcements.
Thanks, Alex. Hi, everybody. So we have some good news on the advocacy front. Thank you to all of you people who wrote in letters. First of all, Ottawa City Council has joined many other municipalities in support of the Global Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. More information on that on the Climate Action page. And second, Bill C-226 on the environmental justice passed second reading, 177 to 146, and will proceed to committee. So that was mixed success because we were hoping it would receive unanimous consent and all party support because it goes through faster that way. That didn't happen, so it was mixed news, but at least it passed. And remember, Wednesday at 1 o'clock is the End the Climate Delay Day of action by a whole group of people putting it on. Information in the EUU for that. And you will have noticed that there is a new format for the EUU, and if you've clicked on the Environmental Action Group link, it takes you right to the Climate Action page now, so you can find it easily. And over the summer, we will update coming events that we know of. And as we've been mentioning, check the personal enrichment section for environmental reading, listening, and watching to nourish you this summer. I'm still happy to receive suggested books, webinars, or podcasts. I'm going to be putting a few more of those in this week. So this will be my last announcement until the end of the summer. So wishing you all a summer of restoration, and I'll see you in the fall.
I'm still lighting this little candle because the matches are all damp. So during our continued pandemic, we encourage you to sign up to receive the EUU, our weekly email newsletter. Check our Facebook and Instagram pages as well, and our webpage for notices and updates. Our calendar continues to be as full as ever, though many of the activities will take place online. So whatever your heritage, whatever your faith, whomever you love, and however you identify, today you are part of our spiritual community. Our mission is to kindle the light within and inspire courage to nurture the web of life and to create a just and compassionate world. Albert Schweitzer once said that at times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lit the flame within us. And Unitarian Erich Heller Wager says, "Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit, touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life." Thanks, John. Our chalice is now lit. Our opening hymn this morning is number 1024 in the Teal hymn books, "When the Spirit Says Do." Jen will be singing that from the podium here, but those of you who have Teal hymn books can please sing along in your pews with your masks on.
You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 You gotta seek when the Spirit says seek. You gotta seek when the Spirit says seek. Spirit says seek, you gotta seek, oh Lord, you gotta seek when the Spirit says seek. Spirit says seek, 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 Spirit says seek. You gotta find when the Spirit says find. You gotta find when the Spirit says find. When the Spirit says find, you gotta find, oh Lord. You gotta find when the Spirit says find. 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 Spirit says find.
Our mission is to kindle the light within and inspire courage to nurture the web of life and to create a just and compassionate world. Unitarian minister William Schultz elaborates on this and says, quote, "The mission of our faith is to teach the fragile art of hospitality, to revere both the critical mind and the generous heart, to prove that diversity need not mean divisiveness, and to witness to all that we must hold the whole world in our hands. With this in mind, come, let us worship together."
I have one personal sorrow this morning, or concern, I guess might be a better word, from Lisa Sharp, whose father is in the hospital. And I had a request for a stone of sorrow for the people in Afghanistan who were affected by an earthquake that has caused much damage and left many casualties behind, and for the people of Bangladesh and India enduring severe flooding. And I'll add one more stone for all the people in the world who are suffering through various things, and one final stone for all the joys and sorrows held in our hearts.
I'll try to get some young people. Oh, microphone. That's better. I tried to get some young people to dramatize this reading to no avail, so I'll do it myself. It's a reading that you've all heard numerous times in your childhood, I'm sure. So I'd invite you just to, if you so choose, to close your eyes and imagine the story as I read it, and just see how you feel when you read it. You don't have to, I'm just suggesting it. It's from the Christian scriptures. Jesus once told this story to the people gathered around him. There was once a loving father, a farmer who had 2 sons. The younger son got very restless, wanted to leave home and travel to distant lands. So he went to his father and he said, "Dad, I want to get out of here and see the world. Give me my share of your inheritance and I'll be off." So the father divided his wealth and gave each son his half. The older son stayed at home, continuing to work with his father as before. But the younger son went on a trip. He spent all his money having fun, and one day it was all gone. When the younger son's money ran out, he was in a faraway land where he knew no one and could not find a decent job. He finally did find demeaning work taking care of a farmer's pigs. Often he had less to eat than the pigs, for he was now very, very poor. After some time, he came to his senses and said to himself, "Am I mad or something? I should go home. Back at home, my father's workers have bread enough to spare, but here I am dying of hunger. I will leave this place, get up and go to my old dad, and I will say to him, 'Father, I've wasted your money. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me like one of your farm laborers.'" So the younger son went home. In the meantime, his father, over the many months, had stood upstairs looking at the road, waiting for his son to return. And when one day the father saw him coming in the distance toward him, he was so happy he rushed to meet him and kissed him and hugged him. The younger son said, "Father, I've wasted your money. I'm no longer worthy to be your son." But the father was so happy to see his son, he sent his workers to make a great feast to celebrate his homecoming. The father smiled and said, "Give him some decent clothes and put a ring on his finger, and let us celebrate. My younger son was lost and now is found." And the rejoicing began. About this time, the older son came home from his job in the fields. On hearing the music and the dancing, he asked the worker what was going on and was told the celebration was for the safe return of his brother. The older son got really mad and refused to come to the party. His father came out and began to plead for the older son to come inside. The older son said, "Look, Dad, for years I've been working with you. I never disobeyed you. I did everything for you. And you never gave me a party so I could celebrate with my friends. But now my brother, who has spent and wasted all his money, comes home poor and you're giving him a party. I'm mad. I'm really pissed off." The father said to him, "Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. But we have to celebrate and rejoice because this brother of yours, my son, was lost and has been found."
The reading today is called Found While Lost by Eric W. Martinez-Resley. The source, Becoming a Spiritual Guide for Navigating Adulthood. The beauty of the world is in the mouth of a labyrinth, writes Simone Weil. We would be foolish not to follow its call. And so we enter the labyrinth lured by the whiff of a dream still in the making, the possibility of a new relationship, the promise of a new career, the potential for a new beginning. We can never be sure what we will find once inside, but this much is certain. There will be times when the beauty of the world, and with it the entrance to the labyrinth, unexpectedly disappear. Some relationships will disintegrate, some careers will dissatisfy, some beginnings will disappoint. Unable to find the labyrinth's opening, we often find ourselves in frantic search of an escape, fumbling for the next step, tiring ourselves out in the process. Disheartened, dispirited, we feel disoriented. We get lost. The question is not whether we will get lost in life, but rather how we will move through it in faith. Will we dwell on everything that we have lost? Or will we focus instead on everything that we have yet to find? As it happens, there is much that awaits us in our lostness, much to be excavated, examined, even exalted. In not yet knowing what will be, we are afforded the opportunity to appreciate what already is, the things hiding in plain sight. A frayed relationship, for example, may reveal our deeper needs. An unfulfilling career may motivate us to seek out a mentor. A misstart or a misstep may remind us of our own fragile humanity. It may claw open our hearts and sensitize us to the suffering of others. When lost, perhaps the greatest question our faith asks of us is this: how will we be found? Once the time is ripe, the stars align and the way begins to open, will we be ready to embrace the mystery anew? Will we choose to trust anew, to risk anew, to hope anew? Will we allow ourselves to yet again be drawn in, swept up, taken over by that magic that makes life worth living? In the words of Simone Weil, for if we do not lose courage, if we go on walking, it is absolutely certain that we will finally arrive at the center of the labyrinth, and there, God is waiting.
And now the moment for which we've been waiting. Amanda Sutton Tarling has been a Unitarian for 20 years and is now the Director of Congregational Life at the Capital Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Victoria. That is where Marlene and I first met Amanda, when we would spend a few weeks in Victoria during the winter months. Amanda also leads the small congregation on Salt Spring Island. She has spent her life pursuing spiritual wisdom and is a practicing Wiccan. A deeply magical experience for her has been her swims in the ocean every day of the year. Think of that, in the ocean, that's the cold Pacific, every day of the year. The title of Manda's sermon this morning is The Journey from Feeling Lost to Becoming Found.
Good morning, First Unitarian Congregation of Ottawa. I will not start with a list of concerns for the world, but I will begin by wondering whether you feel lost, because I do. This morning, I want to talk about being lost and how we can become found. I want to touch on longing and the joys of living life informed by a bittersweet perspective as a way to be more grounded in this chaos and uncertainty that surrounds us. I hope in about 17 minutes that you'll feel uplifted and energized. The Oxford Dictionary defines lost as being unable to find one's way, of not knowing one's whereabouts, as well as denoting something that has been taken away or cannot be recovered. During COVID, I was kept from my adult son, who is disabled. He has the cognitive ability of about a 2-year-old, when I was not allowed to see him for 83 days. That lost nearly 3 months can never be restored. My beloved father also died after a lengthy hospital stay. Because of COVID, of course, I wasn't even granted a goodbye. I suspect that I am not unique in these type of losses, nor in acknowledging the grief that still lives in my heart. It's like a litany of worries. The pandemic, the climate crisis, the war in Ukraine, Roe v. Wade, the price of everything, school shootings, so many other exhausting and existential questions. In these uneasy times, I do feel like I've gone a bit astray. So very much has been lost. I feel off course, disoriented. My anchor seems to be drifting across the ocean floor, which causes me to ponder. What do we do when we're feeling lost? Many years ago, I worked as a chambermaid at a very fancy hotel. Cleaning one of my very first rooms, I found a wedding ring and engagement ring under the bed. I worked in that hotel every summer of university and would periodically check back with housekeeping to see if anyone had claimed or inquired about the rings. They were never even asked about. Perhaps it was found love that was lost love. When I Google lost, there are thousands of items on Craigslist. There is a suggestion to contact your local police if you have lost something. There is a children's book called Lost, a few songs, but little advice for when one is feeling lost and is searching for a way to be found. I recall lost items I have heard of. One story from my youth growing up in Toronto always stuck in my mind. The Lost and Found of the TTC, the Toronto Transit Commission, listed 4 double bases on their inventory of lost things that were waiting for their owners to collect them. How do you leave a double base on the bus? I was inspired to start writing this sermon after hearing an interview on CBC Radio, which talked about the joy of finding something. This person had found something in a secondhand store that was exactly the thing that was needed. It was a eureka moment for me. That's it, I thought. I need to be found. It made me think about what it is to be found, to find the right partner, accommodation, food, the right gift, or item in the consignment store that makes our hearts sing. I think what we need right now is to be found. I do want to remind you that it's okay to feel lost. Let's take a moment to acknowledge all the ways we have felt lost over these past few years. Make space for those griefs that have built up. We have lost community and connection. We've lost loved ones, and we've all missed out on so much living. One of my stories of being lost from my past is losing something dear to me that begins 30 years ago when my husband asked me to marry him. He waited until we were at my family cottage, a place of deep spiritual significance for me. We were sitting out on the point. He hadn't bought me a ring, as he wanted us to pick something out together. And as we sat by the water in the sunset, he pointed out something floating by. He reached his hand in the water and pulled out the perfect circle of driftwood, just the size of a ring. He placed it on my ring finger, and it fit perfectly. The beauty of this story is that I'd spent summers at the cottage searching for just such a piece of driftwood, never finding it. It was a magic moment within a remarkable time of my life. I wore that little fragile piece of driftwood as my engagement ring for a year, but the wood eventually started to get brittle. I had it cast in silver and loved that silver ring and wore it every day for decades, until that fateful day when I lost it. Luckily, I still had the old wooden ring, which I brought to the jeweler's to be recast. Except the jeweler lost the driftwood ring. I was distraught. I was inconsolable for months. I couldn't believe that this little piece of wood that was so important to my life and my story was gone, and the possibility of casting another silver ring was taken away as well. It's taken a long time, but I've now accepted that loss as part of my life. It was a thing of beauty that I was lucky to wear and admire for so long. I hope that it was found, and that the lucky finder loves it as much as I did. Who knows, perhaps they needed it. But I have the story. I've found the story. From what was lost, I have this beautiful tale of love. But let me turn around the notion of losing things or feeling lost. Acknowledging that we are lost indicates that we're looking for something. So feeling lost can be seen as seeking. You have to know where you have been to know where you are going. Well, we all know where we've been. Thinking about being lost in spirituality terms, the Christian imagery of a lost sheep and being shepherded into the fold feels so comforting during these times. To feel a part of a community is such a blessing when we've been disenfranchised for so long. I wonder, during the pandemic, or when you're feeling ungrounded or uncertain and are seeking comfort, do you ever read our principles and sources to help you feel like you belong? For me, it's the first and sixth sources, the bookends of our sources, that give me strength when I feel untethered. I'll remind you of our first source. It says, direct experience of the transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Simply the cadence of these words is akin to a prayer for me. Transcending mystery, moving us to a renewal of spirit. I can feel my heart open at that incantation. Our sixth source says, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Living in harmony with nature, these two sources are like a roadmap for me, a guide for my journey from lost to found. But what are yours? I invite you to read our principles, read our sources. Where in those magnificent words do you find a home? How do we become found? What is it about finding things? I walk around my neighborhood every single day, and I make it a practice to pick up garbage. I've done this for years. One day last week, I picked up what I thought was an old bus ticket, and instead, to my shock, it was a $10 bill. Finding that $10 bill filled me with elation. I felt like this tremendous gift had just arrived at my feet from the universe. I thought about the person who lost it and really hoped it wasn't critical to their lives. And then I thought about Viola Desmond, whose picture is on our $10 bill. She was a successful Black businesswoman who was jailed, convicted, and fined for defiantly refusing to leave a whites-only area of a movie theater in 1946. Imagine how lost she must have felt, adrift in a racist legal system. Now she is discovered, or a new-found hero. I marveled at how beautiful the bill was, resplendent in purple and shiny colors. It made me so wildly happy, and it was just $10. It made me wonder, how could I be like that $10 bill to someone else? A definition of found is having been discovered by chance or unexpectedly. I wonder how many of us have discovered Unitarian Universalism by chance. It's certainly how I ended up here. I've learned to live in the world with what Susan Cain, author of How Sorrow and Longing Make Us Whole, calls a bittersweet perspective. Up until this point, I've been talking about the dualities of being lost or found. So much in our world is a duality. Joy and sorrow, bitter and sweet, light and dark. We think we are on the road when everything is going well. Health, peace, financial security, contentment. But when things don't go our way, we see them as a temporary problem and that we'll get back on the path shortly, that this is just a detour. And we strive to get back to that main road of calm and tranquility and groundedness. However, bittersweet outlook affirms that all our experiences are on the main road, that being lost is part of our human experience, that all of the chaos of these times is an important part of our lives. I want to take just a moment to say you might perhaps hear a faint bell behind me, and it's quite ironic. It's my dear cat who was a stray, who was found at the cottage that I referenced earlier with the story of the ring. Perhaps she wanted to be featured in this homily. Understanding the bittersweet nature of life is centuries old. Artists, writers, and wisdom keepers have been trying to tell us for decades the fragile state of feeling lost is the greatest pathway to belonging. Experiencing bittersweet moments, both joy and sorrow, will come to all of us. When it arrives, we have two choices as to what to do. One is to not acknowledge it and invariably take it out on ourselves. That feeling of being lost and that nothing is going our way and I just want to stamp my foot with frustration. Or pause, try to notice it, transform it into something else, something beautiful, something creative. I've talked about acknowledging feelings of being lost as positive. They encourage us to seek a path or a way to move from lost to found. Perhaps what we feel is a longing to be found. The etymology of to long for something is to grow longer, to reach for. Longing is a catalyst to create or move, to grow or to change. The Google Dictionary lists many synonyms for to long for, including to yearn, to pine, ache, wish, hunger, thirst, hope, be eager, crave, dream of, desire, and to set one's heart on. I love the action and the drive in these words. Within loss, there is a longing in which resides such action, such motivation. In the Sufi tradition, longing is a gateway to belonging. The 12th century poet Rumi had a deep spiritual friendship with a man named Shams. When Shams died, this threw Rumi into an all-encompassing grief. When Rumi finally emerged from his sorrow, he began to write his ecstatic poetry. Let me set up a few of the lines from one of his poems. A man was praying to Allah. A passing stranger says to him, "What are you praying for? Did you ever get an answer?" This shocks the praying man and he stops his prayer. Shortly thereafter, the man who was praying falls into a fitful sleep where he dreams of Hittar, the guide of souls, who asks him, "Why did you stop praying?" The praying man replies, "Because I never heard anything back." According to Rumi's poem, Hittar replies with, "The longing you express is the return message. The grief you cry out from draws you towards union. Your pure sadness that wants help is the secret cup. The world feels heavy right now, and this is why a deep understanding of the bittersweet nature of life can help. Feeling lost is a longing, a searching, a growing, and is a way to be grounded in a time of great instability. The mystical side of Judaism, Kabbalah, there is a story which says that all of creation was once a divine vessel that then shattered. We are living in the world of post-perfection times, the time when that beautiful vessel has been broken, fragmented into all of these shatters. And yet, the shards of the vessel are scattered everywhere around us. What we are invited to do is to bend down and pick them up when we see them. The magic here is that I will see different pieces than you see. I saw the potential in a driftwood ring. What will you see today? What shard that encompasses the beauty and the mystery of the world? For me, it is often swimming in the ocean. This morning I swam with jellyfish. They're called moon jellies. They don't sting, and they're small as a pinprick, and some of them are as big as the palm of my hand. They're completely transparent, and they're like little ocean ghosts making their graceful way through the swells and the currents. I invite you every day to search for that piece of the divine vessel. Notice the beauty and tell someone about it. I find this such a comforting metaphor, contemplating scattered pieces of magic strewn around the world waiting to be found. Perhaps you will discover them in a tree, a bird, a book, a rock, a song. I found your mission statement with help from Bob Armstrong. It's on a banner in your sanctuary, and it says, "We kindle the light within and inspire courage to nurture the web of life and to create a just and compassionate world." Those beautiful words help me to feel found. There's so much comfort in feeling found. Where do you feel found? I hope your answer is here with Unitarians. This is my chosen family. You are my people, my community. I'd like to draw this sermon to a close with words that I have adapted by William Stafford from the book Lifting Our Voices. Will you ever bring a better gift for the world than you? Are you waiting for time to show you some better thoughts? What is it that you want from this day? This interval you spent between waking and sleeping? What can anyone give you greater than now, starting right here? What glimpse can you find? My friends, whatever you seek, may you find it here. May you create it here. May you discover it within and let it shine. For to feel lost is acknowledging that you are seeking to be found. Blessed be Ottawa. Be well. I hope to see you in person soon.
That was an amazing sermon. Thank you so very much, Amanda. This congregation has a long history of care, vitality, and bringing people together to move the arc of justice forward. We've been able to live into our hopes and dreams because of the generosity of those within and beyond the community. Whether you were here in Worship Hall or elsewhere at all, you are part of this community. To make a gift in support of the work of this congregation, you don't need to use the baskets that will soon be making their way among our pews. Wherever you are invited to go to our website or contact our finance manager to find out how to make a donation or keep up with your pledge. Our gifts are freely given and gratefully received. We dedicate these gifts to the work of this community of faith, serving human wholeness, caring for the planet, upholding religious freedom, welcoming the stranger, loving one another. And now our closing hymn. Those in Worship Hall, please feel free to sing along. Those elsewhere, it's in the gray hymnal, Singing Our Living Tradition, number 368, Now Let Us Sing.
Just before we have this wonderful group that's coming up to sing, I've been asked to announce that there's a caring card at the back for Douglas Perry, the Reverend Dr. Douglas Johnson Perry. Many of you will know him through, I'm trying to think now who it is. Jane Perry, thank you very much. So it's nice if everyone signs the card, not just those who knew the person, because the people like to know that we're thinking of them. And I think everyone here would thinking of anyone who needs a caring card. So if you could sign that on your way out, that'd be very helpful. Thank you.
As Amanda said at the conclusion of her wonderful sermon, will you ever bring a better gift for the world than you? Are you waiting for time to show you some better thoughts? What is it that you want from this day, this interval you spend between waking and sleeping? What can anyone give you greater than now, starting right here? What glimpse can you find? Whatever you seek, may you find it here. May you create it here. May you discover it within and let it shine. For to feel lost is acknowledging that you are seeking being found. And as we extinguish our chalice this morning, the light remains in our hearts as we move from this place to bring justice and compassion in our world. And now we sing together, Spirit of Life. stirrings of compassion, roar in the wind, rise in the sea, Ciudad amen, vida suave de justicia, Silent por moi, silent por moi, source divine, vive moi, vive moi. Before we begin to close this time of worship and reflection, a reminder that our hospitality hour will begin at 11:30. I now invite, but before I close, I want to thank our custodian, Dee, our sound technicians, Stephen and Avery. Avery has been volunteering for the last 4 years, very faithfully, and this September he's going to university at Waterloo, and we wish him everything of the best. And thanks to Jen and Kate and our wonderful choristers for the music this morning. May we now all have a passionate zest for our world, much gentleness, and may we all be more human to the very end. With this hope, as the medieval mystic Julian of Norwich said, all shall be well, all shall be well, all manner of things shall be well. Go in peace, go in love, go in joy. Miigwech gigawa bimin menawa, which is Ojibwe for thank you, see you again.
I have a language that was born with time, passed on through generations, one of a kind. Keep it close to me, close to my heart, share for all to hear. I will do my part. Upigoso tonight. I am proud. I am proud. elders say. We were given our languages from the animals, from the trees, yet we cut them down. Many things have been taken from our people, yet we are still here. Our languages are not lost, but simply resting, waiting to be reawakened.